On late September 2023, we started the pre-production, meaning we had to create a carefully planned schedule to create the props, wardrobe, and the main and secondary sets. And of course, we had to create the storyboards and technical boards for the music video as well. In November, we started filming and the post-production began in December 2023. At least that was the plan. In reality, we realized that the pre-production takes even longer than initially planned because it was a very slow process and everything had to be built from scratch and by hand by only a handful of people. So to sum it up, it started in late September 2023 and it was finished in early 2025.
The props and the set for Have You took a long time to build, and it all started with Rach working on a hairpiece. Took like a lot of weeks.
The headpiece itself, it was made entirely by me and it took me almost 3 weeks to design it and finish it, since I also had to learn first of all how to create and design a wig, because I had no prior knowledge before that. I sat every night from around 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. to work on it, and I also finished in the meantime watching the first Naruto with the fillers included.
I built the table, which is like a light emitting table. I am the tape.
We couldn't find a suitable space to do what we wanted to do. So we had to clear up my room actually, and before filming I had to sleep on my stage riser, the one we use on our concerts, and that was a pretty cool experience. The main set was really fun to make, and just as a song it took us by surprise because we didn't had planned on painting the whole room.
Then we started working on painting the entire walls black, and it basically the apartment is exactly as you see it in the music video because it's done with practical effects. It's painted, hand painted with black and drawn with the golden symbols.
Thankfully, while I was working with Cezar on the foliage that you can see behind me, we really didn't took into account how everything would look on camera. After we finished freaking out a little bit, we did a quick test on our phones and we found out that indeed we needed to paint the walls too. And since it was the middle of the night, we had to wait until morning, and then we ran to the store and bought paint and we started on painting.
One day before we were still painting walls, and we had paint all over us, glitter, everything. It was a mess, and we were a mess because we were not sleeping. We were zombies basically.
With the help of Cezar and Oana, we graciously finished painting it and managed to make it look incredibly amazing and extremely detailed too. I also really wanted the gold paint to resemble like real gold that you'd find in ancient tombs, so every single symbol that was painted, they have been coated with 3 different layers of paint. That too was a really tedious job, but in the end I think the result was really worth it. The secondary background, that was also kind of hard to build, mostly because I needed it to be like this huge 5 meters wide and 3.5 meters tall backdrop with holes in it. And since we didn't have the necessary space in the main set itself, we had to split the backdrop into 3 pieces, which then we had to assemble later on after we'd be done shooting in the main set. The holes themselves were difficult to create too because we had to make them at an angle. 30 degrees downside angle for the upper edge, 0 degrees for the center of the backdrop, and 35 degrees upside angle for the bottom edge, so the light would travel harmoniously in the shot. In this process, unfortunately, our hallway wall also suffered, and now it has real and actual holes in it. We need to repair those.
So there's this collective group of people, friends, family, if you will. And they keep trying to find new ways to hate each other. For example, this shoot.
Having a background in acting brought me joy for this music video because I haven't displayed those skills in a while. As opposed to the other videos, Have You has a story timeline and actual characters, so I had to prepare a background story for my character to truly grasp her intentions. And because of the set space limitations, the character's action had to be limited as well. So to keep the intent, I had to rely on short and obvious gestures. Acting on camera is totally different than acting on stage. For that, I used Kubrick's method so I can express a piercing stare and its intensity. And the movement techniques follow different rules, so I had to rehearse specific scenes more than the rest. So when the camera would roll, it would capture me mid-movement and then having me lead up to the main action. I think a good example for this is the scene where Akuma lays on the table with me hovering above him, and the focal point is my hand reaching out to grab his chin. So my hand movement would start ahead with a few seconds before the camera would roll. I found it really exciting because we had to keep in mind that not only the focal point's action had to be seamless, but it also had to be carefully paced and synchronized with the actual camera's movement. Me and Mihnea had to rehearse it a few times to get the pace correctly because we really wanted to offer that seamless and fluid movement to the shot.
So this was also my first time acting in a music video, and it was quite challenging because I'm more of a behind the cameras dude, and everything being done by us. We didn't have like an additional crew that was handling, I don't know, technical issues or something wrong with the set falling. I had to go and do it myself in costume. I was a bit split between the two roles or the multiple roles that I was doing right there. So it was challenging.
Another cool part is the scene where Cezar, Oana and Dan have to act. Oana, who plays the traveler, had to be like this chic lady who intends to cheat her way in. So her character had to be really confident at first. Then in a split second, she had to be scared and then desperate and beg for mercy once one of the Sentinels interrupts her by grabbing her hand. Those transitions from confidence to fear and then repentance are not something that can be easily displayed, and at the end, Oana mastered everything like really gracefully.